Hello Scorpio, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for November for the Sun or the Ascendant. Going to give you the broad strands to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail all the key influences particularly relevant to your sign. Now, as this month begins, so the Sun and Venus and Mercury are all in the sign of Scorpio. This gives you an awesome opportunity to showcase your individual talents, to really inject any strand in your situation that's important to you with extra enthusiasm, but no little charm, because Venus is very, very close to the Sun through the first 10 days. But your traditional ruler is Mars, and that continues in its retrograde in the 8th house. It may be in the bright and bubbly Gemini, but for you, this is very much in keeping with the energy of your sign. But it is still, like last month, in a square with Neptune. So I need to share with you about that. The lunar eclipse of the 8th, which does definitely have some potential gotchas, but also your modern ruler Pluto is actually forging a really impressive link with Jupiter, the planet of growth. Despite its retrograde, it does end that on the 23rd, but Jupiter and Pluto are aligned perfectly for the whole of this month, which is really exciting. So please join me for all of that and much more. However, if you would like to ascend above zodiac astrology and understand what more serious astrology holds for you in 2023, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you your forecast for the next year. But also if you order in 2022, I'll give you the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you can get your roadmap, your life guide, your character analysis. This can help you to understand some of those stubborn and not always easy patterns that comes up in many of our lives, but equally help you to understand even more the opportunities and talents that you have. Please see below for more about this. If you're new to my channel, I'd be also honoured if you'd subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you're an ongoing viewer, however, thank you so much for all your views. I really am very grateful. So Scorpio, as you come into November, it really is Scorpio season. The sensational celestial combination of the Sun and Venus through the first 10 days gives you an added radiance. Also Mercury in your sign gives you that ability to think about how you can initiate or inject ongoing strands with new approaches, fresh approaches. The Sun, extra drive and dynamism. So a fabulous combination. However, we have to be mindful that your ruler Mars is in a retrograde in a practical part of your situation in terms of the 8th house around longer term money. In a more emotional sense, this is where we're most invested, and it can also be about sex. So if there is someone that you're strongly drawn to or is very drawn to you, just be aware that Mars can give you a big need for intimacy, but it's shimmering right angle with Neptune in your sector of romance, but also of risk, just suggests that the connections that you make may not necessarily be completely clear, or you could find yourself pulled towards someone you don't even like, but something about it seems fated or very karmic at the least. However, Neptune in the 5th house can be about speculation. Mars can be about living in the moment and being quite risk-taking and wanting instant gratification. So just be aware in terms of your money, if there is a new idea that you're manifesting, you do really need to research it well. But this is where Mercury will help you undoubtedly. Now, your modern ruler, Pluto, is actually in a fantastic link with Jupiter, which is also in your 5th house. Now, Jupiter may be retrograde through to the 23rd, but this combination is is really excellent. So if there are ideas you have, Pluto in your third house, and you have got a clear idea about how you're going to approach things, it's well costed, thought through, and you're feeling really charged up with the possibilities, then I feel that you can make some significant progress. Just be aware that Mars and Jupiter are in touch. They're not within 3 degrees when it comes to a square, which is what I use in terms of these forecasts, but they're enough in touch to see you perhaps wanting to be enterprising. Neptune just means that you could encounter someone who's not representing themselves in a particularly honest or straightforward way, or information that you're told may be hazy. So just be conscious of that with Mars in retrograde. Now that brings us to the total lunar eclipse in your opposite sign, which occurs on the 8th. Now on the event itself, the Sun and Mercury on the other side of the heavens are conjunct in your sign. So you could be very single-minded, but this is a total lunar eclipse of a fixed nature because it also embraces the erratic energies of Uranus in your sector of relating and the more static and limiting energies of Saturn in your sector of emotion. In fact, week 2 of this month sees the Sun in your sign really being affected by the emotional or considerations of your situation or the feelings of people around you. So even if you're feeling incredibly dynamic and charged up about trying something new and enterprising, you are going to have to bring people with you, and there could be some resistance. Now this total lunar eclipse can provide a backdrop energy for the next 6 months. So if you have been feeling a bit trapped in your emotional world or in a relationship which isn't giving you that sense of excitement, and there is someone showing an interest in you, Venus's proximity to the Sun can see you tempted, but I think you really need to factor in the big picture here, because there's a lot of desire around you this month for sure, particularly with Mars and Jupiter in that broad right angle. And you know, Neptune is a very mystical influence, so it can sort of see us tripping the light fantastic in terms of what we feel we need. But I think when Venus moves on the 16th, it can actually trigger some kind of improvement in your financial situation. Now, I don't say this lightly. We're all facing really significant headwinds when it comes to interest rate charges, utility costs, and of course food. You know, everything seems to have gone up. But Venus moving into the sign of Sagittarius can be good for you. Mercury moves on the following day. So the things you've been working on in the early part of the month, if you've really applied yourself, you can start to see the physical and material benefits from that point on. The Sun moves on the 22nd, also into Sagittarius, and that makes you even more attuned to your self-worth, anything to do with the physical foundations of your world, and also to do with money. The new moon also on the 23rd sees Venus and Mercury in an exact combination, exact conjunction, and that too could bring about some surprising income changes for you. Jupiter, the planet of fortune, also goes direct on that day in your sector of risk. But like I said before, it's forging that wonderful alliance with your modern ruler all through this month. So you can see that there are some headwinds, some contra energies. It's not necessarily going to be all about getting what you need. I feel other people are going to be asserting what they want from you too. But I think Venus is a big clue about how this month goes. Venus can be quite a superficial influence in some ways. It can also trick us to be tied up in the more material world, but it also can give us an appreciation of more earthy benefits, you know, whether it's homegrown vegetables or home cooking or making Christmas presents in that old-fashioned way with a lot of creativity and ingenuity, but recycling materials, those things can actually bring a lot of joy in the second half of this month. So we don't necessarily have to live through a material plane through Venus. It can be an appreciation of more simple but artistic and creative energies too. But if you are lucky enough to be in a relationship which is loved up, I think the second half of this month can get even more intimate between you and yours. But for a lot of Scorpios, I think this is a really important month in terms of journeying through becoming into your own power when it comes to your individuality. You know, if you really want to walk to the sound of your own drum, this is a key month. And because of the fixed nature of this particular lunar eclipse, it's asking you to be single-minded, but not to the point that you're utterly unmovable and dogmatic, that there's no flexing.